All right, welcome everyone. Today we are going to let an AI take a crack at a big Premier League match. We're talking Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. So get ready, because we're about to see what the data really thinks is going to happen. Let's get right into it.
So on the surface, this looks like a classic David versus Goliath, right? You've got Crystal Palace with that incredible home crowd at Selhurst Park up against the absolute powerhouse that is Manchester City. But, when you start looking at the data, things get a whole lot more interesting than you might think.
Okay, so first things first. How do we even begin to measure the strength of these two teams? Well, we're going to start with something called the ELO rating. Now, you might have heard of this from the world of chess, but it works great for football too. Think of it like a live power ranking. It goes up when you win, down when you lose, and it's always changing based on who you play. It's a really good way to get a baseline for who's got the edge.
So, looking at Crystal Palace, they're sitting at 1,569.5. And hey, that is a very respectable score. It shows they're a solid Premier League side, for sure. But when you put them up against City, well, that number definitely paints them as the underdog in this fight.
And then you see Manchester City's number, a massive 1596.4. That gap, almost 30 points, is actually a huge deal in the ELO system. It's not just a small difference, it's more like a chasm. So, based on this alone, you'd be putting your money on a pretty straightforward win for City.
But we all know football isn't just a numbers game, right? It's never that simple. The real magic of this AI isn't just looking at a rating, it's about how it handles all the messy, real-world stuff that can completely flip a game on its head.
And this is where it gets really fun. Because what happens when you throw in some curveballs? Things like bad weather, key players being out. That's where a simple prediction gets way more complicated and honestly, way more accurate.
Okay, check this out. The forecast for the match is, well, it's pretty miserable. We're looking at rain, wind gusting up to 35 miles per hour, and it's going to be dark. This is what you'd call a great equalizer. Suddenly, all of Man City's technical skill might not matter as much. This kind of weather can turn a football match into a real dogfight.
And it's not just the weather. Both teams are missing some huge players. Palace is without Doucouré and Sarr, which hurts, but look at City. They're without both Rodri and Kovacic. Anyone who watches City knows how much they rely on Rodri to control the game. Him being out is a massive deal and could totally change how their midfield operates.
So, the AI has taken the base ratings, factored in that nasty weather, and accounted for those key injuries. So what's the bottom line? Let's see the final probabilities.
And here it is. Man City are still the favorites, but look at that. Their win probability has dropped to just under 49%. That's way lower than what the ELO ratings alone would suggest. And check out the draw, a 30% chance. That's really high, and it tells you just how much the weather and injuries are expected to level things out. Crystal Palace, they've got a decent 21% chance, which is basically a 1 in 5 shot at a huge upset.
So you might be wondering, how in the world does the AI come up with these specific numbers? Well, let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the really cool tech that's actually making this prediction. The secret sauce here is something called a unified ensemble model. Now, that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Instead of relying on just one AI, it uses a whole bunch of different models. You can think of it like a committee of expert analysts. Each one looks at the data a little differently, and then they all debate and vote to come up with one final, much smarter prediction.
But here's the thing about a committee of experts. They don't always agree. And that's actually a good thing. The fact that these different AI models come up with different answers is super important because it shows us just how uncertain the outcome really is.
And just look at this disagreement when it comes to the chance of a draw. It's pretty wild. You've got one model, the naive Bayes, that's practically screaming it's going to be a draw, giving it almost a 50% chance. Then you've got the neural network at the other end saying, no way, putting it at just 5.5%. The final 30% we saw earlier is the result of the ensemble model weighing all these different opinions to find a sensible middle ground.
Okay, percentages are great, but as fans, we want to know the score, right? What does this actually look like on the scoreboard? Well, the AI ran thousands of simulations to figure out the most likely final scores.
And here are the top 3. The single most likely outcome is a 2-1 win for Manchester City, a nail-biter. Right behind that is a 1-1 draw, which makes total sense given that high 30% probability we just talked about. And rounding out the top 3 is a slightly more comfortable 2-0 win for City. The big takeaway here? The AI is definitely predicting a very close game, probably decided by just one goal.
At the end of the day,
You have to remember this. The AI can crunch all the numbers in the world. It can analyze weather patterns and injury reports, but it can't predict a moment of pure magic. It can't account for the human spirit, the passion, the drama that makes us love the sport.
So that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The AI gives us the probabilities. It shows us what's likely to happen. But can it ever really account for a last-minute wonder goal, a save that defies physics, or just a moment of pure genius from a player? The data gets us close, but maybe, just maybe, it's those unpredictable moments that make the game truly beautiful. Thanks so much for joining me.